Hi, how's it going? I've put the kettle on, so pull up a chair and let's have a natter about royal families from around the world. I believe that all my content used falls under the remits of fair use. Any links are provided as a convenience and are not an endorsement of those pages. I welcome your comments, but please be respectful of others and remember, this is just a light-hearted chat for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, as you can probably tell from my accent, I am British, and I have to say that I am absolutely fascinated by royalty. The Crown, the Windsors, the King's Speech, a royal night out. I do truly believe that British culture is so much richer for having a royal family. But I do not want to talk about my royal family on this channel. There are already plenty of others on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter speaking rubbish about them already. No, what I want to do instead is concentrate on learning more about other royal families from around the world. Are their family dynamics as explosive as ours? Do their royals act more regally, or are they even worse? Well, I hope that you will come with me and let's find out together. So what I want to start off with in this video is just really defining what a royal family and what a monarchy is. And this is the definition from Wikipedia on what a monarchy is. A monarchy is a form of government in which the person, the monarch, is the head of state for life or until they abdicate. Okay, until they pass that responsibility over to someone else. The legitimacy and authority of the monarch may vary from restricted and largely symbolic, such as our royal family, which is a constitutional monarchy, where they don't really have proper power. Power lies with a parliament or an elected set of officials, and they're just the figureheads from the country. Okay. But there are also autocratic monarchies, absolute monarchies, that have full control of executive, legislative, judicial powers. It just means that they pretty much set the rules. They've got a lot more power than our royal family has. Now, there are only 6 absolute monarchies in the world. And these absolute monarchies, the ones that have complete power, are Brunei, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, the Oman, Saudi Arabia, and yes, Vatican City. The Pope is an absolute monarch. This is in contrast to the 23 constitutional monarchies. So these are all the monarchies of the world that where power does not rest with the monarch. There is elected officials and the power rests with them instead. So those monarchies are Andorra, Bahrain, Belgium, Bhutan, Denmark, Jordan, Spain, Cambodia, Kuwait, Lesotho, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Morocco, Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Swaziland, Thailand, Tonga, Sweden, Japan, and the United Kingdom. So you can see that these countries take up, they're all over the world. They are spread out all over. And in fact, some very clever person at Sputnik International actually managed to put all of these into a map. The green countries and the red countries, those are the monarchies, the red ones being the absolute monarchies, the green ones, the constitutional monarchies, and then the United Kingdom is there as a constitutional monarchy, which still has the Queen as head of state of the Commonwealth countries. Although this is out of date now, obviously some of the countries over, some of these countries have already left the Commonwealth, such as Barbados, that left just a couple of days ago. But it's a great little thing, and I'll put the link to this poster that they produced in the description below, so you can check it out for yourself. Now, monarchs can carry various titles. They can style themselves emperor and empress, king, queen, prince regnant or princess regnant. And a regnant is just a regent who is ruling during either the minority, so when a absence or incapacity of a sovereign. So either the sovereign is too young or too old and ill or infirm or crazy to carry on with their duties. Or has gone away somewhere else and so needs someone else to take over for a while while they're away. Then you've got the Rajas, the Khan, Tsar, Tsar is the one that was in Russia, Sultan, Shah, which is the title for a ruler in Persia, Chhatrapati, which is one of the titles for a ruler in India, or Pharaoh, which is a title in Egypt, or was in Egypt a long time ago. So how is it that you can become a monarch, either a constitutional monarch or an absolute monarch? How do you become one of these emperors or kings or rajas or tsars? Well, there are a couple of ways you can do that. So the most common way to become a king or queen is through inheritance. And this is what happens with our royal family. The monarch dies and the throne passes, well, used to pass to the oldest son. Now it's going to be the eldest child. So it means that females can now inherit the throne as well. And this has happened in a couple of other European countries too. The second way to get the throne, at least in the past, this hasn't happened for a long time, is through right of conquest. So Henry Tudor, who was later crowned Henry VII, father of Henry VIII, he had a rather weak claim to the throne of England through his mother. But when he invaded in 1485 and killed King Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth, he was able to claim the throne by right of conquest. Okay, he killed the old king. He had a bit of royal blood in him. He was able to say, yes, I am going to claim the throne. It now belongs to me. He did still need to marry the old king's daughter just to really cement his reign and stop the rival house, the House of York, from trying to claim the throne back off of them again. Now, the third way that you can gain a throne is to be elected. And actually, some royal families, like the one in Cambodia, when the old king dies, the new king is elected from amongst the old king's relatives. So it doesn't automatically go to the eldest son or eldest child. Okay, but these three ways all require the new claimant to the throne to have royal blood. So can you become a monarch if you don't have royal blood? Well, yes, you can. If you decide to call yourself a monarch, then there's nothing really to stop you if you already have absolute power. And this is, for example, what Napoleon Bonaparte did. Okay, so he rose through the ranks of the French military until he reached the position of consul, which was the leader of France. Then he managed to change the rules so that he could become ruler for life. And then he crowned himself Emperor of France and its domains, thereby effectively becoming, establishing a new monarchy, a new royal family in France. So, could we class dictatorships as a form of monarchy? Well, maybe some of them we could class as dictatorships, some of them maybe not. Okay, there are lots of different types of dictatorships. And no one's quite sure, there are a lot of different definitions of what dictatorships are. Take the example of Vladimir Putin. Okay, could he be considered a dictatorship? He did, after all, change the rules in Russia to allow him to stay as president until 2036. Not quite for life, but what's to stop him in 2036 from extending it and making it for life? However, he doesn't have absolute power yet in Russia. So there's a lot of arguments for him being a dictator and a lot of arguments against him being a dictator. No one has quite established yet whether Russia could be considered a dictatorship or not. And it is a big debate. So if we look at that, the red countries, according to some people's definitions of what a dictatorship is, the red countries could be considered dictatorships. And there are about 50 odd dictatorships possibly in the world, depending on your definition, obviously, in contrast to the democratic countries or the constitutional monarchy countries and the partly free countries, which are a bit of a grey area. Okay. However, there are some dictatorships that look very much like absolute monarchies, but don't call themselves that yet. So if you take the example of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, the current ruler, Kim Jong-un, he inherited the title of supreme leader from his father, who inherited it from his father. So you could argue that they are a form of absolute monarchy because they have this royal bloodline and because they have a cult of sort of family worship almost, this cult of personality in their country as well, where they are revered almost as living gods. Now, if we put the dictatorships aside for a minute, there are numerous other royal families around the world who no longer have any sort of constitutional or absolute powers, but they are still present, they still cling to their titles, and they're still in positions of authority within their countries. And some of these countries around the world have more than one royal family. So if you look at India and Pakistan, the royal families there, they have numerous ones from different geographical areas. Now, they all lost their official status in 1971, but many of these families still live in palaces, then they're still quite wealthy and influential. Similarly, Germany is quite still a relatively young nation, and Italy as well. They also retain some of these regional princes, grand dukes, or archdukes who are all direct descendants of former rulers. So, your turn. Does your country or region have its own royal family? Do they still have any real power? And how do you feel about them? Would you like them to have more power or would you like them to have less power? If your country doesn't have a royal family, would you like them to have one? And who would your ideal monarch be? I look forward to hearing from you, and we must do this again soon. Toodle pip.